Hey everyone, Maggie here from Mailshake, and today we are doing another case study, video case study, and we have Luke Ruffing on here. He is the partnership executive at Builtfirst. So Luke, do you mind taking some time to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So as you said, I'm the partnership executive here at Builtfirst. So basically what that entails is I'm running full cycle sales cycles, and I'm in charge of bringing in pipeline as well through outbound emailing, cold calling, and prospecting.
Awesome. So ideal client for Mailshake. As people know, Mailshake is an outbound automation tool, a sales engagement tool. So what do you normally use Mailshake for, Luke?
Mailshake for me is two things. One is outbound prospecting and also following up on inbound leads and making sure I can get the bookings for those that come in.
Gotcha. Outbound and then coming in with inbound too. And we'll dive into that a little bit more. But this is something I saw you post about recently. But what are some numbers that you've seen with your cold outbound outreach before using Mailshake? And then again, with using Mailshake, what's the difference there?
Yeah, so actually I did this with two separate tools before coming on to Mailshake. The first one I used was Apollo, which great data, tons of contacts. But what was happening was I was getting all these contacts, putting them in sequence, and I was getting a 30% open rate,
Oh, wow.
which means I think 3 out of 10 emails was being delivered and 7 out of 10 were either bouncing or hitting spam.
Mm.
So wasn't the best experience. And what that led to is out of those three, only 1% of emails were being replied to,
Oh, whoa.
which makes it tricky to set meetings and create pipeline,
Yeah.
especially when you're going cold outbound. The other one I used was a HubSpot sequencer, and I was using that mostly for inbound and had decent open rates around 40 or 50%. And I was getting reply rates, I think around 8 or 9% off of those. But again, not enough pipeline to sustain 60K a month quota. So I needed to figure out a way to actually bring in more pipeline because that was the only lever I could pull to actually get the revenue up.
Yeah, with a 1% reply rate with, outbound, it's pretty tricky. And it's pretty tricky to see the ROI on even setting up a campaign in general, or like an email campaign. It's like, okay, we're putting all this effort forward, no matter what our open rate is, to just get 1% is pretty frustrating and can't really get the ball moving there. So, after using those two tools, what kind of success are you seeing with Mailshake today?
Yeah, so after switching over to Mailshake, I noticed two things that were different. One, because of going through the warm-up program with you guys and getting the inbox trusted, getting off of blacklists, and being able to land in inboxes primaries, deliverability spiked to 69%, which is sweet. Fun number. But hitting that 69% open rate was huge because rather than 3 out of 10 being delivered, I'm getting 7 out of 10 hitting inboxes. And what I also did is I worked with your team a little bit on copy to shorten emails, have a better call to action. And this has actually led to a 20% response rate.
Wow.
Out of those ones that are being delivered. And in the first month, I contacted, I think, around 100 or 150 people. Outbound is a targeted list. But I was able to book 12 new meetings. And I've got 12 new active sales cycles running compared to picking up 1 or 2 outbound a month.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So just from a month alone, you got 12 meetings booked from it.
Yep. And those are just purely email. I haven't touched the phone on those campaigns at all yet, just because of the type of vertical I'm targeting right now.
Gotcha. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. We love to see those results. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you want to use a tool to send cold outbound emails, but you want to make sure that you're actually getting results from it, because anyone can automate things nowadays or use AI or a bunch of these other things. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm still not getting results from it, there's no point in putting all that wasted effort in up front, is what I always say. And I know you mentioned two things. So you felt like the warm up really was a game changer for you. And then also working with our team to kind of create different copy. What about those two things, like specifically, I guess, like, how did our team help with the copy there for you?
Yeah, they adjusted like call to actions rather than the traditional, hey, would you be open to a Zoom call? You want to set up 15 minutes next week? It's a much lower ask CTA of, hey, would you be interested in me sending you some more information? Can I send you some stats and results on this? Can I send you a list of vendors that we offer? Stuff like that, where it's easier for them to say yes. And it's a one extra step towards booking a meeting, but you're able to add that additional layer of value before actually asking for time. Especially with the way the market's looking today, if you can separate yourselves or do something a little bit different, it can really net in more meetings. And that was something I've found working with your team.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. It's all about getting that easy yes in the beginning, when you're going like maybe interest based, or you're just making it super easy for them to reply back to an email. And then another thing that you mentioned too with the warm up and boosting deliverability, are you able to track with the warm up tool? Like you mentioned, 7 out of 10 emails hitting the spam, now being at only 3 out of 10. Is that something you're able to track?
Yeah, so literally the first thing you see when I sign into Mailshake today is deliverability rates. So hitting 69, 70% deliverability. Here's my opens, here's my replies, and here's the potential bounce rate. And it's still in the yellow zone today, which is great because that means I'm not pulling too many bad email addresses. Which actually brings up one other thing that I didn't even think about going into this was doing list cleaning. So sometimes you get weird emails, or the domain's not quite right, or it's dot last name or just last name after first name on the email naming conventions. And what your list cleaning tool does is it makes sure that these are at least decent or good quality emails, and I'm kicking out all the bad or definite bounce emails before contacting people. And that helps with the reputation and be able to deliver more to those good email addresses.
For sure. The reputation in general, because, as we kind of say it to a lot of our customers, the more bounces you get, the more chances you can land into spam, and then your reputation just starts to deteriorate. But the other thing about it is, like, again, no data company is perfect. Like, you mentioned Apollo. Apollo has great data. There's other great data tools I've used out there like Seamless or ZoomInfo. Yeah. But it's hard to keep up to date on, okay, does this person still work there? Or if you pulled the list a while ago, I know sometimes I do that and just like to kind of take a look at it. It's hard to keep all those updated. So I think having that just in general so that like, okay, well, these people no longer work there. I can take them off my radar, or I can take a look at them at the new company that they're working at, but just to have like some structure and organization there too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the real nice thing about working with you guys is you approach this the way that I do, and the way I approach things in sales is with the end goal in mind. So book meetings. Ultimate goal is to get meetings on the calendar. How do we do that? We have to actually get a response from prospects. And how do we do that? We have to make sure we land in their inbox. And you guys focus on the warm-up steps, the list cleaning, the deliverability that actually nets you in the inbox. Versus building a campaign from scratch, A/B testing, working on copy, all the front end stuff, which doesn't matter if the email doesn't actually land in their inbox. So having that different perspective and working with you guys on that has been huge.
Amazing to hear. It's like music to my ears. And it sounds so simple too. Like, Luke, it's like, okay, well, why wouldn't we focus on the end goal of getting meetings? Isn't that the purpose of a lot of our sales function in general, and closing revenue at the end of the day? So yeah, it is a big core focus of what we want to, what we want to pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for going through the results that you've had with Mailshake. I always like to learn, like, what do your sequences typically look like, Luke?
So a couple things on the sequence side. I'm a big fan of like the Justin Michael school.
Oh yeah.
Of doing emailing. So what that basically entails is a lot of short spears, they're called. So something with one end goal or one problem in mind for the prospect. We solve XYZ. And that's going to be your first 3 emails. And those get delivered day 1, day 2, and day 3. And then that's the first week. On the second week, there's a second problem that we highlight. And then we do a short bump on a second email and a third email. Day 1, day 2, day 3 of the second week. And that way your prospect knows that they're being prospected. If your targeting and messaging is good, you're going to get a yes or no much faster than spreading this out over a month.
Yeah.
And with that targeted time frame, it allows you to do some other steps like a LinkedIn profile view, a comment on one of their pieces of content, a phone call. And if you can do all those in a short time frame, which we call a triple.
Triple.
So phone call, email, LinkedIn touch, all within 5 minutes of each other, they know you're trying to break the door down. And you might have something to actually offer them, or you're going to get a quick no and you can go prospect somebody else.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of format this. And I think that tied to actually landing in inboxes explains the 12 meetings booked in less than a month and that 20% reply rate.
Amazing. It has to be the two parts of it. You could have that great copy like you mentioned before, but if you're not hitting the inbox, then the method's not going to work. But I love that. And that's personally what I like too, is like getting to the no quicker if you're doing a method like that, because, hey, I'm fine. If you want to disqualify yourself right in the beginning, I'm not going to go chase you after that anymore. And I'm not going to put you in the rest of the cycle here. But amazing, Luke. Thank you so, so much. For those of you listening, and he's also a first sales hire. He's a podcast host. So Luke, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on LinkedIn or salescastpodcast.com. We're pushing out 2 or 3 episodes every week on best prospecting processes, as well as tips to close deals and actually get them over the finish line after you book them. So sales is a passion and a hobby, but you got to be able to open those conversations to actually get them to the finish line. So thanks for having me, Maggie.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for using Mailshake, and we'll check everyone next time on another case study, a video case study. So thanks so much, Luke. Have a good one.
Repping Mailshake.
Yeah, exactly. Twins. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.